Saludos a todos, mi nombre es Julián Duque y vamos a acompañarnos en esta lectura de este artículo de la Harvard Business Review que me pareció interesante y por eso lo seleccioné para la actividad de la semana número 7. In the ecosystems economy, what's your strategy? Uh, it's an article written by Michael G. Jacobites from September of this year, okay? So we start. When Nestlé was preparing to go mainstream with Nespresso, its single-use espresso capsule, it knew that users will need a machine specifically designed to work with the pot. So the company cultivated a network of manufacturers. It didn't tell customers to buy a Jura, Krups, or a Brown. It just decided which manufacturers could be on the list, and because the capsule and the interface were patented, other manufacturers could not make Nespresso-compatible machines without permission. Nespresso was creating designed an ecosystem, an orchestrated network spanning multiple sectors. The firms involved work to share standards, sometimes on a shared platform to make their products and services compatible. And they create links among themselves that make it difficult for outsiders to break in. Designed ecosystems like Nespresso are increasingly important. Owing to the convergence of three big structural changes in our economy, the first is an unprecedented rollback of regulations protecting firms that once had the exclusive privilege of serving particular customers' needs. As those protecting fall, organizations in other domains are free to partner to provide more integrated offerings, as when an accountants team up with law firms. The second change is a blurring of the separation between products and services because of regulatory changes and digitization. The latter has also led to offering with more modular structures, whose components can be recombined in new ways, which in turn has encouraged the rise of product services bundles provided by networks of interdependent suppliers. The third change involves technology that is revolutioning how firms can serve their customers. Our dependence of mobile devices along with the internet's influence on buying patterns has dramatically expanded the possibilities for linking previously unrelated goods and services, reinforcing the effects of the first two changes. Given these shifts, it is less and less likely that single firms can offer all the elements a customer needs, let alone offer to experiment with them. And so ecosystems, specifically designed ones, are on the rise. In fact, in a growing number of sectors, the firm and even the industry have ceased to be meaningful units of strategic analysis. We must focus instead on competition between digitally enabled design ecosystems that span traditional industry boundaries and offer complex and customizable product service bundles. Traditional strategy frameworks are of little help when designing or participating in such an economy, an ecosystem. An ecosystem focused framework, as opposed to a firm focused one, needs to answer five questions. First question: can you help other firms create value? In ecosystem competition, success is as much about helping other firms innovate as it is about being innovative yourself. Companies that have built a successful ecosystem have often done so incrementally, broadening the value proposition of their core offering by finding opportunities to apply one of its features or functionalities to some previously unrelated product or service. Consider Google Nest, which started by developing a smart digital thermostat that can be controlled remotely. It then added an alarm, thus building a bundle that controls both comfort and security. Next, Capitalizing on the possibilities of digital interconnection, it created the Works with the Nest ecosystem, which lets firms innovate by connecting with Nest. For instance, LIFX designed a Nest-compatible system whereby red LEDs flashing in the smoke or safety alarms are activated, a literal lifesaver for the hard of hearing. Fitbit, the wearable fitness tracker, can tell Nest you are awake so that it knows to warm your home. And Mercedes-Benz cars can use GPS to tell Nest to switch on the heat as you arrive. This extension constitutes a value proposition greater than anything Nest could have provided on its own. Google recently announced that it will be phasing out works with Nest and transitioning to works with Google Assistant and even broader and stronger ecosystem. That proposition rests on sharing functionality. Nest may have started as a remotely controllable thermostat, but its creator realized that customers might want to remotely control multiple services and products in multiple contexts. That understanding pointed the way to possible complementors, and Nest gradually migrated to providing remote control for a range of home systems and appliances. Having identified the critical and shareable functionalities, an ecosystem builder needs to consider the incentives and motivation of potential complementors. How will joining your ecosystem look for their point of view? Will they be content to remain complementors, or could they reasonably hope to compete with you? In Nest's case, what value proposition could it offer Mercedes, that is? How could participation improve the way Mercedes embed itself in its customers' daily lives? How did that compare with other options Mercedes had? If you don't focus on needs of your partners, your ecosystem will wither on the vine. No matter how strong your brand and market position, changes chances are that some other ecosystem builder can offer a better alternative. Nokia's downfall provides a cautionary example. Even though the firm's Symbian operating system starting out as the factor rule of the mobile telephone space, it was soon eclipsed because Nokia focused on its own narrow needs. Treated as dispensable supply chain subordinates, app developers and other complementors jumped ship to Android. Second question: what role should you play? Many firms assume they should be the focus and chief architect of any ecosystem they create. That's not necessarily the case. Sometimes you are better off sharing the role of being a complementer. To be the orchestrator and prime mover of an ecosystem, you need a superior product or service that is hard to replicate. This means some combination of IP protection, a large network of users, and strong branding. Nespresso, as mentioned, patented, patented its capsule. The app powering Uber and Facebook are so user-friendly that those companies very quickly built large user networks. And Apple's patent protection and user base are bolstered by a strong brand and large-scale positioning the company to orchestrate pretty much any ecosystems in which it participates. Organizational and cultural factors are also critical. Few will disagree that orchestrators need the agility to respond to new challenges, the humility to understand customer needs, and the vision to inspire complementors. But to say that isn't necessarily to state the obvious. Consider the impact a single-minded focus on shareholder value and cost control can have a company's ability to demonstrate those qualities. Firms with that focus are often, and sometimes rightly, accused of favoring the capture of short-term profits over the creating of long-term value and given the time needed to shape an ecosystem part into a successful whole. That orientation could compromise a firm's ability to be an effective orchestrator. A company whose identity is deeply rooted in its technology or management systems might also struggle. For example, an obsession with control could get in the way of engaging with entrepreneurial scientists, while a preference for organic, internally generated growth could lead to clashes with complementers equally protective of their turf. If you lack the qualification to build an ecosystem but have an IP protected product or service that could anchor one, your best bet most likely involves attracting the interest of a large company that could buy into or license your idea. If a small-scale HVAC installer had come up with a remotely controllable thermostat, it probably could not have attracted the ecosystems of complementors that Google did. But it could have approached Google with the idea and served as a complementor while benefit from licensor revenue. For many medium-sized firms, a key strategy is to embed in many ecosystems. LIFX, for instance, connects with customers through Amazon's Alexa, Google Home, and Apple HomeKit. Even if you bring a great product or service to the party and have the organizational and cultural capabilities to attract complementers, it might make sense to orchestrate in partnership with another firms in order to reach critical mass. Daimler and BMW recently announced plans to jointly create a management mobility ecosystem combining car sharing, ride hailing, parking, and other services. Concerned about disrupting firms such as Uber and Lyft, the automakers decided to collaborate on high-end services and showed to their brands their chief differentiator and elements of value, which will slate migration to mobility as a service might will erode. A big company can also buy into an ecosystem, which can be particularly helpful if its contribution is interchangeable with other firms offering. Toyota recently invested 1.5 billion in the Southeast Asian ride-hailing company Grab, reasoning that mass MaaS will drive demand for reliable low-cost cars. That partnership, the company hopes, will give Toyota not just a direct edge as a car supplier but also an understanding of car usage patterns that could confer an advantage over rivals such as Hyundai and Nissan. Some notes of caution for mainstream firms: even if you are large, you may be vulnerable to disruption for Google, Apple, or other tech giants, and participating in one of their ecosystems as a complementer may have significant advantages over trying to orchestrate your own, specifically when it's hard to assess what combination of products and services will satisfy the final customer, or when the range of potential combinations is very broad. You should probably not be responsible for entrepreneurial and creative inputs. In the video game industry, for example, developers organize flexibility through video game engines to take their offerings to consumers. And even if you ultimately want to build your own ecosystem, participating in another one can help you gain experience, understand the needs of customers and complementators, and build the skills that orchestrating requires. 3. What should the terms for participation be? Research on ecosystem governance is still in its early days, but governance failures are easy to identify. For instance, as described earlier, Symbian failed in part because Nokia neglected to take other parties' interests into account. Contrast that with Apple's record with app developers. There are two key governance choices. Access. Early in the process, an ecosystem builder needs to decide whether the system should be open, managed, or closed. In an open ecosystem, such as Uber drivers, complementors need only meet certain basic standards to participate. In a managed ecosystem, such as Apple App Store, there are clear criteria for complementors and possibly some limits on their number, along with the specific guidelines on functionality and pricing, say in a closed ecosystem such as VW's Connect, Carve, and Philips Digital Health. Approval of complementors and role of participated are tightly controlled. In general, the more open the system, the easier it is to attract complementors and a wide range of product, but quality is more variable. The degree of openness should be determined in part by what matters most to the final customers. For a mobile app platform with a diverse customer base, for example, an open ecosystem, one offering lots of choice might make sense. But if quality and safety concerns arise, barriers may be in order. Think of Didi, China's largest ride-hailing company, reeling from the 2018 murders of two passengers by drivers for its hitch service. The firms choose to become more close. It suspends hitch and now rigorously vets prospective Didi drivers. Attachment. As you determine how accessible to make your ecosystem, you'll also need to consider how exclusively attached it you want your complementors to be, how much they need to co-specialize with you. There will be trade-off for all parties. If your mobile operating system forbids app developers from porting their programs to other platforms, the developers will certainly have a stake in your success, but the restriction might cause them not to join if they have opportunities elsewhere. Conversely, if you impose no barriers to redeploying an app, you'll find it far easier to recreate complementors, but they will have no particular attachment to your ecosystem. The degree to which an orchestrator can lock in complementors generally depends on the attractiveness of that orchestrator and what alternatives are available. A hugely attractive orchestrator such as Apple, which can link an app developer to a large and loyal network, can probably require more attachment than a new entrant can. Compared with Apple, Android was easy to join. Google wanted to gain attraction before scaling up. Symbian ignored developers, increasing alternatives, and collapsed when those developers came to Apple and Google. Their power and attractiveness, along with a lack of alternatives, have historically given the tech giants such as Apple and Google relatively free rein to aggressively manage access and attachment to their ecosystems. But as technologies and attitudes change, less hierarchical ecosystems are growing more popular. WeWork's meteoric rise results from the fact that it not only provides shared office space but also builds communities. The WeWork app allows members to collaborate with and provide services to one another with little interference. Not-for-profits too are setting up non-hierarchical ecosystems. One example is the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, CE100 network, which supports firms that promote the so-called circular economy. Some smaller ventures have gone in a similar direction. The London-based platform Upstart Common Objective matches up companies in the fashion industry without imposing its own rules of game. Important. In the ecosystem competition, success involves helping other firms innovate. More radically, the rapid growth of ledger technologies such as blockchain opens new possibilities for creating sets of interconnected companies. The members of these ecosystems are linked not through a hub firm but through a distributed system designed by one company, perhaps, but used by many. Consider Blank Labs Nexo, the biggest challenger to Uber in Mexico City. Instead of assembling a fleet of individual drivers who connect with customers through an app, the Uber model, it's built an interface that allows taxi companies to band together in a network passengers can choose from, providing the same seamless experience Uber offers but through decentralized ecosystems.